4 words. Women say right before they play you, and exactly what to do. It is common to misunderstand certain social signals, especially when it comes to communication dynamics. Many individuals believe that subtle maneuvers like prolonged silence, conflicting signals, or an abrupt emotional withdrawal are the primary ways in which certain relational patterns are established. However, the reality often predates these more overt actions. The foundation for such dynamics is frequently laid much earlier, through seemingly innocuous phrases, spoken with such casual ease that their underlying intent goes entirely unquestioned. These phrases, often just a handful of words, are so deeply embedded in everyday conversation that their true revealing nature is almost universally missed. If you have ever found yourself caught in a cycle of anticipation, holding on to hope, overthinking every interaction, or desperately seeking a clarity that never materializes, it is highly probable that these subtle linguistic tools were employed. Their purpose was not merely to convey information, but to subtly influence and shape your perception and behavior. Understanding these verbal cues is paramount to navigating social interactions with greater awareness and self-possession. Once you grasp the deeper implications of these specific phrases, you will gain an invaluable insight that prevents you from inadvertently falling into these well-worn traps again. Language, in its quiet power, can be one of the most effective instruments of influence, leaving no overt trace, no obvious fingerprints of manipulation. Most individuals are trained to look for behavioral indicators, the physical distance created, the mixed messages in actions, or a sudden cooling of emotional warmth. Yet, what is often overlooked is that the journey of influence rarely commences with behavior alone. When there's a desire to subtly shift a dynamic without openly claiming responsibility for that shift, a carefully selected word or phrase is often employed. This single linguistic choice can profoundly reshape the entire emotional framework within which you operate, a phenomenon psychologists refer to as framing. A seemingly insignificant word has the power to subtly bend your interpretation of reality without you consciously registering the shift. It is delivered softly, casually, as if utterly devoid of deeper meaning. However, hidden within that seemingly tiny syllable is a more profound, unspoken question being posed. How much can I guide your actions and emotions without ever appearing to push or exert direct pressure? Consider, for instance, an individual who frequently hears another person state they are busy. On the surface, this is readily accepted at face value. One might naturally assume this person is genuinely overwhelmed, perhaps fatigued, simply juggling the demands of a complex life. What goes unnoticed, however, is the intricate calibration occurring beneath the surface. This individual is not merely measuring their own schedule, they are, in effect, assessing your responses. Each delayed response, every vaguely worded excuse, each minor withdrawal of attention. These are all data points. This individual is keenly observing the extent to which you will adapt, how swiftly you will pursue, and how easily your own expectations and boundaries might dissolve under the guise of being patient. The inclination to test boundaries is not inherently malicious. Rather, it often stems from a deeper, perhaps unconscious search for an individual who demonstrates self-leadership. People are drawn to those who possess a strong inner anchor, someone who does not become adrift in an emotional current the moment the dynamic shifts. This is precisely why recognizing the 4 particular phrases we will explore holds such significant weight. They are not random utterances. They are deliberate, albeit sometimes unconscious, tools of categorization. They implicitly ask, are you self-governing and independent? Do you possess underlying insecurities? Are you easily swayed and guided? Or are you unyielding and impossible to manipulate? Let's delve into these 4 phrases commonly employed when another individual is not definitively choosing you, but wishes for you to consistently continue choosing them. Number 1. Busy. When someone states they've been so busy lately, the immediate interpretation for many is a practical scheduling challenge. The assumption is they are genuinely managing a multitude of commitments, work pressures, personal stressors, family obligations, the general complexity of life. However, when genuine interest is present, individuals typically do not become less available. Instead, they become incredibly resourceful. The concept of busy often isn't fundamentally about a lack of time, it's about a clear indication of priority. The moment that word becomes a recurring theme, it's less about revealing a heavy workload and more about communicating where you stand in their hierarchical scale of importance. What often goes unobserved is that busy can be a sophisticated form of control exerted through carefully managed inconsistency. The individual provides just enough intermittent attention to sustain your hope, yet never enough to offer genuine certainty or commitment. This very unpredictability can trigger a potent psychological mechanism. It's known as intermittent reinforcement, the same powerful principle that maintains addictive behaviors, such as those associated with slot machines, can similarly keep individuals captivated by others who dole out attention in short, unpredictable bursts. While the person might not be consciously thinking, "I will condition this individual," they are undeniably observing the impact of delaying gratification. Do you wait longer? Do you increase your efforts? Do you shrink your own needs to accommodate their fluctuating rhythm? Consider a common scenario. One person sends a simple good morning message. No reply arrives. They check their phone at midday, still nothing. By evening, they rationalize, they must just be busy. The following day, a sudden warm response appears, perhaps a cheerful emoji or even an unexpected voice note. The recipient's brain lights up, experiencing a surge of dopamine akin to winning a lottery. They haven't won anything substantial, but the stark contrast between prior absence and sudden attention creates a powerful illusion of heightened value. Often, the more emotional investment one demonstrates, the busier the other person becomes. Yet, the moment one begins to withdraw their energy, the other may miraculously find themselves free once more. From a self-aware perspective, a simple truth emerges. When someone genuinely desires your presence, they don't become less accessible. They become remarkably inventive. They will consistently carve out 2 minutes, send a brief message, or make their effort visible and tangible. Individuals who truly value and want another person will actively create space and time for them, rather than offering excuses for its absence. However, a critical mistake many make is believing that patience is inherently attractive. They mistakenly think that waiting demonstrates loyalty, maturity, or profound emotional strength. In the context of someone testing your boundaries, waiting can be perceived as submission. It signals that they can ration their presence, and you will nevertheless remain. To effectively dismantle the busy illusion, a direct confrontation is unnecessary. Chasing clarity with aggressive demands is counterproductive. Crafting lengthy, emotionally charged texts to explain your feelings is equally ineffective. Instead, the most potent strategy is to simply reduce access, match their distance not with hostility or anger, but with calm, deliberate detachment. Withdraw the implicit reward they have come to expect, your immediate, unwavering attention. When they realize their intermittent withdrawals no longer trigger the desired reaction from you, the entire framework they established begins to collapse. The space they strategically created to test your boundaries transforms into the very space they now fear losing. Indifference, not emotional pursuit, is the only language that effectively shatters the busy illusion. When you cease accommodating their delays, you cease being controlled by them. This marks a pivotal shift in the power dynamic. You are no longer competing for their time. Instead, they are compelled to consider competing for your presence. This mastery of self-regulation and strategic disengagement is a critical skill in navigating relationships. Number 2, maybe. When someone says, "Maybe, I'll let you know," most people hear an invitation to possibility. What has actually been extended, however, is a state of suspension, a soft, subtle cage designed to keep you emotionally available without requiring any genuine commitment from their end. Maybe is not an open doorway, it's a holding pattern. It keeps you perpetually circling, emotionally parked, while the other person deliberates whether you are truly worth landing for or if another more appealing option has already secured their runway. Visualize this common scenario. You propose a plan for the weekend. The other person responds with a text-based smile, drops a casual maybe, and then effectively disappears from active communication for a day or two. Subsequently, they post a social media story, laughing vivaciously in a car that isn't yours, clearly enjoying themselves. Many, in an attempt to be polite and understanding, tell themselves not to exert pressure. They wait, firmly believing that their patience will eventually be rewarded. Yet, from the perspective of someone evaluating boundaries, waiting is not perceived as respect. It is interpreted as compliance. Maybe serves one primary purpose: to maintain complete control over the pacing of the interaction. It grants them the freedom to explore their options, gauge their mood, and prioritize their own convenience, all while you remain emotionally stationary, hoping the coin will eventually flip in your favor. This inherent imbalance is precisely where your value is being assessed, not your appearance, not your financial status, but your strength of boundaries. Here is a truth that many find challenging to accept. When someone genuinely wants you, they do not gamble with the risk of losing you. Maybe only surfaces when there's an underlying uncertainty, a lack of deep investment, or an unwillingness to completely close off an option. This is where individuals often trap themselves. They send follow-up messages, they soften their tone, they extend yet another friendly invitation. They strive to appear easygoing, exceptionally patient, and profoundly understanding. What they often fail to realize is that every additional ounce of effort and accommodation only serves to reinforce the other person's perceived power and control. The longer you wait and the more accommodating you become, the less compelled they feel to make a definitive choice. Consider a familiar scenario. An individual spends days in emotional limbo, anchored to a vague maybe. The other person never provides a concrete date, a specific time, or a clear plan. Yet the first individual relentlessly checks their phone, mistakenly interpreting silence as a sign of progress. Meanwhile, the other person is keeping them on emotional standby, merely as an insurance policy in case other, more preferred options do not materialize. You were never the primary choice. You were simply the convenient backup plan. To effectively break free from this soft, ambiguous cage, you must treat maybe as an unequivocally closed door. This doesn't require anger, resentment, or a confrontational attitude. Instead, it demands clarity and a simple, decisive shift. Let me know when you're sure. And then you must physically and emotionally step back. You cease offering your valuable time to someone who has not earned it through commitment. You stop scheduling your own life around their chronic uncertainty. You stop attempting to prove yourself to an individual who has not genuinely chosen you. Something profoundly powerful occurs when an individual refuses to wait in perpetual limbo. The illusion of future possibility dissolves. The other person cannot hold you in an ambiguous state if you steadfastly refuse to reside there. Suddenly, they are compelled to make a definitive choice: commit or risk losing access to you entirely. For the first time, they experience the tangible cost of their own ambiguity. An individual cannot effectively cage someone who refuses to wait indefinitely. When you consistently demonstrate that you value your own time and emotional energy, the other person is then forced to decide whether they truly desire a concrete place within your well-defined life. This disciplined approach is a powerful skill in maintaining personal agency and respecting one's own worth. Number 3. Friend. There is a moment many individuals recall vividly. The instant someone looks at them with a gentle smile, perhaps a slight tilt of the head, and utters the words, "You're such a good friend." On the surface, it feels utterly harmless, even genuinely flattering. However, embedded within that single word lies one of the most significant downgrades that can be delivered without ever sounding overtly cruel. Because when you are labeled a friend in this context, it's not an act of bonding, it's an act of categorization. Individuals, particularly in social dynamics, tend to categorize others far more swiftly than is often recognized. Within mere minutes of an initial encounter, a person is often placed into one of several distinct mental categories: the person for whom attraction is felt, the person who commands respect, the person who might be useful in some capacity, and the person who can be confided in without ever requiring a romantic choice. The designation friend often falls into that last category. It signifies that you are perceived as safe but not desired, valued for your qualities but not chosen for romantic partnership, consistently present but not claimed as a romantic interest. And here is the unspoken, crucial translation: you provide me with significant emotional benefits without requiring any reciprocal emotional commitment from my end. Let's illustrate this pattern. An individual consistently answers late-night messages. They patiently listen to the other person's stress, their personal dramas, their heartbreaks. They offer comfort, reassurance, and often sage guidance. They might mistakenly believe this deepening emotional closeness is fostering true intimacy. What they often fail to perceive is that the other person often leaves those conversations feeling lighter, emotionally unburdened, and then turns to someone else for excitement or romantic engagement. The friend becomes an emotional outlet, a makeshift therapist, a consistent emotional cushion, essentially every role except the one they truly aspire to occupy. From a psychological perspective, this dynamic represents a form of emotional labor, a valuable resource that people deeply appreciate, but also something they swiftly learn to take for granted when it appears to cost them nothing. When you provide unwavering attention, profound empathy, consistent presence, and unlimited availability without clearly defined boundaries, the other person often consumes it effortlessly, unconsciously, and seemingly without end, much like breathing air. The fundamental error many make is the belief that the more they give, the more desirable or appealing they become. However, genuine attraction doesn't typically blossom from service or unending accommodation. It often thrives on a healthy degree of distance, a clear sense of personal direction, and, most importantly, consistent self-respect. The moment you position yourself as the sole solution to all the other person's emotional discomforts, you inadvertently erase the polarity that might otherwise allow them to see you as a potential romantic partner rather than merely a reliable support system. To effectively escape this trap, the approach is not to redouble efforts to earn interest. It's not about increasing your level of service. Instead, it's about strategically reducing it. You stop replying instantly to every message. You cease absorbing every piece of their personal drama. You stop passively playing the role they have unconsciously assigned you without your active consent. This isn't about punishing them. The other person is rarely acting as an intentional antagonist. Rather, it's about re-establishing a dynamic that has, often unconsciously, drifted out of balance. Here is the transformative consequence of judiciously removing access. Their established emotional pattern breaks. The consistent comfort they had come to rely upon suddenly disappears. This forces them to reevaluate who you truly are in their life. For the first time, they perceive you not as an endless cushion, but as an individual with clear personal structure, someone whose self-respect and dignity take precedence over their desire to merely serve. You don't escape the friend zone by loving harder or giving more. You escape it by consciously stepping out of the role. When you cease being the convenient emotional dumping ground, you transform into someone they must actively notice and consider rather than someone they merely utilize. This disciplined self-prioritization is a vital skill for fostering balanced relationships. Number 4. Soon. Few words have the capacity to keep an individual suspended in anticipation longer than this seemingly innocuous phrase, "We'll hang out soon. I'll text you soon. I'll be ready soon." It carries an optimistic, gentle, almost genuinely promising overtone. However, soon is often one of the most sophisticated stalling tactics employed when someone wishes to retain you within their general orbit without offering you a concrete, definitive place in their actual world. It represents a future that perpetually remains just out of reach because, in truth, it was never truly intended to arrive. Soon effectively pacifies you. It keeps you emotionally invested and patiently hopeful while the other person deliberately keeps their options wide open. It allows them to maintain a convenient illusion of interest without contributing anything tangible or concrete to a real plan. From a psychological standpoint, this mechanism is known as temporal delay reinforcement. They consistently feed you just enough hope to ensure you overlook the underlying reality. Their actions consistently fail to align with their words. This inconsistency creates a harmful feedback loop that drains your emotional energy over time. Allow me to paint a picture that many have experienced firsthand. You inquire about their availability. They respond with a text-based smile and declare, "Let's plan something soon." A week passes, then 2. Suddenly, 3 weeks have elapsed, and the closest thing to a concrete plan remains that single, dusty, unfulfilled promise still lingering in your message thread. Meanwhile, the other person is actively living their life, posting vibrant social media stories, engaging with new people, exploring possibilities that conspicuously do not include you. This isn't necessarily because they dislike you, but primarily because they do not genuinely fear the prospect of losing you, and that is the crucial insight many struggle to grasp. Soon is the phrase they use when they want to keep the door merely cracked open, just enough for them to step through if they ever choose to, but never enough for you to confidently step in. Soon is typically employed for 2 main reasons. Firstly, they may not wish to invest their immediate time or energy in you. Secondly, and paradoxically, they also don't want to completely lose you as a potential option. You essentially become an emotional reserve, a maybe later, a convenient backup plan in the event that the individuals they are more actively pursuing fail to deliver. Many, driven more by optimistic hope than by objective reality, permit themselves to believe that the delay is insignificant. They often misinterpret vagueness as patience and patiently waiting as a virtue. However, hope that lacks any tangible evidence or consistent action is not loyalty. It can often be a form of self-abandonment, a failure to honor your own time and desires. To effectively break the spell of soon, you must consciously withdraw from the fog of ambiguity and demand clarity, not through emotional pleas, but through decisive action. The moment that word is used, you must step back, not dramatically, not angrily, but with calm, clear decisiveness. You do not chase the vague promise. You do not wait passively for the next tiny breadcrumb of attention. You simply interpret soon as a clear signal that a real, committed choice has not been made. And in response, you cease offering the comfort of being an unclaimed, perpetually available option. A future that is genuinely real possesses specific markers, a definite date, a concrete plan, a clear location, an agreed upon time, something tangible that you can point to and affirm, this actually exists. If it does not possess these elements, it is not your future. It is merely a placeholder, a strategic tool being used to manage your expectations. And here is the transformative shift they rarely see coming. The moment you cease accepting vague, indefinite promises, you stop being the individual they can indefinitely delay. That is precisely when genuine respect enters the dynamic, because you are no longer a passive passenger waiting for their timeline to unfold. You become an individual with clear boundaries, personal momentum, and a defined sense of direction. Someone may defer or postpone an individual who passively follows their pace, but they rarely delay someone who confidently sets and maintains their own. Once you stop allowing your life to be dictated by their perpetual soon, they are compelled to make a definitive choice. Either step forward with concrete commitment or definitively step out of your life. This conscious management of your own timeline and expectations is a critical skill in life and relationships. It's crucial to understand that these 4 words were never primarily used to describe their immediate situation. Their ultimate purpose was to subtly measure your reaction and position. Busy, maybe, friend, soon. None of them are truly about their schedule, their genuine intent, or their actual availability. They are profoundly revealing about your response. Because every time one of these words is subtly dropped, the speaker is not merely communicating, they are meticulously observing. They are watching how you navigate uncertainty, how you react to distance, how you handle ambiguity. Your reaction in that moment tells them everything they need to know about your standing in the broader hierarchy of their considerations. Here is the insidious loop that most individuals never recognize. The word is used. You interpret it emotionally, personalizing its meaning. You then adjust your behavior, often subtly, to accommodate it. The other person evaluates that adjustment. And through this silent, unconscious process, your perceived value is redefined, often downwards. That is why the real danger doesn't reside in the word itself. The true threat lies in how swiftly and unconsciously you surrender your personal position and boundaries when you hear it. The other person doesn't actively lower your value. They simply create the conditions for you to demonstrate precisely how low you are willing to place yourself in their estimation. This pattern unfolds countless times. Individuals sit, confused, frustrated, genuinely convinced they have been subtly manipulated. When the dynamics are carefully walked back, a painful realization often dawns. The control that was seemingly exerted was, in fact, control that was freely given. Busy made them try harder, chasing an elusive presence. Maybe compelled them to wait in suspended animation. Friend coerced them into emotional servitude. Soon entrapped them in a cycle of endless, unfulfilled hope. 4 seemingly insignificant words shaped entire interactions simply because their underlying framing was never questioned or understood. Yet this same individual has the profound capacity to transform their reality the moment they cease merely reacting and begin actively observing. The moment they hear a vague word and refuse to personalize it. The moment they stop contorting themselves and their expectations to fit another person's inconsistency and instead anchor firmly into their own established standards and self-worth. This marks the pivotal shift from merely reacting to actively leading. It's a journey from seeking external reassurance to embodying internal certainty. It's the evolution from needing clarity to proactively creating it through decisive action. People do not inherently respect an individual who constantly needs certainty or validation from them. They respect the person who carries an unshakable certainty within themselves, the person who remains unflustered by ambiguity, the person who refuses to overinvest their emotional energy in unclear, inconsistent signals, the person who does not allow language, no matter how soft, subtle, or strategically deployed, to bend or diminish their inherent value. Genuine control is never truly taken from you. It is actively returned the moment you stop unconsciously surrendering it. And when you stop folding under the deceptive weight of those 4 seemingly small words, you cease to be the individual who can be perpetually tested, endlessly stalled, or systematically downgraded. You transform into the person they must either choose intentionally and with genuine commitment or risk losing completely. This mastery of self-awareness and self-assertion is a fundamental skill that permeates all aspects of a fulfilling life. You have now gained insight into a truth that most individuals never grasp. The 4 words themselves were never the inherent threat. The actual danger lay in how effortlessly those words could pull you off center, away from your own sense of self and purpose. Busy subtly controlled your time and energy. Maybe manipulated your hope and anticipation. Friend dictated your emotional role. Soon held your future hostage in a state of limbo. Each of these words, in its own way, redirected your focus away from your own inherent value and towards the elusive pursuit of another's approval or attention. That is precisely why so many individuals find themselves feeling drained, perpetually confused, or consistently feeling unchosen. It's not because they lacked intrinsic worth, but because they persistently reacted to subtle signals that were never truly meant to guide them towards a healthy, fulfilling connection. When you consciously cease responding in the expected, reactive manner, the entire dynamic undergoes a profound transformation. You are no longer the individual passively waiting for clarity to be bestowed upon you. You become the one who actively creates it through your own deliberate actions and clear boundaries. You are no longer the person who constantly adjusts and contorts themselves to fit another's inconsistency. You become the individual whose unwavering standards compel others to either rise to meet them or gracefully fall away. And when another person realizes that they cannot easily move you with mere words, that is the pivotal moment when genuine respect begins to take root. Not because you demanded it aggressively, but because you demonstrated it consistently through your unwavering self-possession. This cultivation of inner strength and clear boundaries is a vital skill that benefits every facet of life. So, if these 4 words have ever held power or sway over you, let this realization be a definitive turning point. Choose self-control over self-doubt. Choose clear direction over aimless delay. Choose to honor yourself over the fleeting fantasy of what another might eventually give. Because the precise moment you cease surrendering your emotional authority is the moment you reclaim everything you mistakenly believed was taken from you. It is a powerful act of self-reclamation and empowerment, a testament to the acquired skill of self-mastery.